You know, one of the things we say often with our institute is that we activate the soul's mission to open the heart of the world. And today, you have an amazing opportunity, because if you're wondering, what is it that activates the soul mission? You wonder what it is? What is it? Thank you for asking. It's raw truth. That's what raw truth does. It activates your soul's mission. And so today, are we blessed or what? That we have an original idea in the house, right? Bishop Carlton Pearson. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been an amazing experience for me to sit here and enjoy and engage in the worship of First Unity. You all are so alive, so electrified, so interesting, and so a very interested and interesting person. You're a curious person. You're a visionary. You are the Episcopal oversight. Epi means over scope, overseer. Same word for bishop of that church. And boy, you're doing a fantastic job. Reverend Doctor, you're extraordinary. Your leadership is extraordinary. And so is your fellowship. You have a very healthy church. I think the last time I was there was in November of 2019. I've been reminded of that, and I'm so thankful that I get to keep coming, that you've invited me off and on, and that we stay connected. God bless all of you. God be all of you. God is indeed being all of you. I want to talk for the next few minutes, about 20 or so, about from the subject, we're not in trouble, we're in transition. We're not in trouble. We're in transition. The universe is correcting and clearing and cleansing itself. It's purifying and purging and perfecting itself. This is a time, as Reverend Kim alluded to earlier, of change, of challenge, of becoming. The word corona is also where we get the word coroner. The coronavirus. A coroner is an official who investigates violent or sudden suspicious deaths. So the corona represents a coroner that is investigating sudden death in this country. But that's not all bad. Some of the death is of old paradigms that no longer fit into the 21st century. Old religious presuppositions and pre-notions, old attitudes, old group, club, clique, clan type control of the culture and of the consciousness and even the character of the country. All of that's being changed from global warming to what's happening in Washington with politics. All of that is a part of a correcting thing. And the universe itself is not judgment. It's, again, the universe. One verse, version, or versification of the whole. That's how I describe or define universe. There is a universal shift in religious consciousness. People are asking themselves what they believe, why they believe it, and how those beliefs add to or subtract from the quality of their lives. That's a very important question. And I think we're not only at a tipping point in American culture, but a turning point. Pandemic and Pandora are working at the same time. Pandora reveals evil and weakness or wickedness among us that impedes or obstructs our growth and our evolution. So the pandemic, the word pandemonium, pandeimon, demon. Pan represents a Greek god of fear, but also Pandora is the panoramic view. There's an overall, all around 360-degree view of what we are. America is looking at herself in the mirror. She doesn't like what she sees. And therefore, there's a major shift, a major turning, a major, and you've heard me say many times, shift happens. Occasionally the shift, S-H-I-F-T, hits the fan, and ours has. The whole world is watching this evolution. It looks like confusion. It's evolution and dissolution. Some things are dissolving away that don't belong. That's okay, let it go. This is a powerful time of change. This is a prophetic time of change. We must all adjust to the disciplines of making, managing, and mastering change. Make it, manage it. Ultimately, we master this shift, this change. It is challenging, but we're up to it. I sense an eagerness, particularly among our young people, there's this new energy of young people. And it's so fascinating to me that most of the Black Lives Matter advocates seem to be white people, white young people holding Black Lives Matter signs. Now, we know that all lives matter. On the street, all homes matter. But if one's on fire, we focus our attention on the one that's burning to the ground. If we can prevent it, that family from being displaced. Some things need to be burnt to the ground and not repaired, but replaced. All of that's happening in this coronavirus, pandemonium, pandemon. I'm not talking about a hairy hoofed, scary looking, disembodied spirit. I'm talking about a deadly negative energy that is playing both psychological and biological warfare with this country, with the world. The whole world is experiencing this. Progress is impossible without change. And those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. You have to be able to change your mind. As Wayne Deere, I think Reverend Kim referred to him earlier, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. There's a change of perspective, a change of perception. I call this year, back in January, that 2020 would be a year of 2020 vision, but not only 2020 vision, which is the distance that any of us could see 20 feet away. That's not extraordinary vision. That's supposedly normal vision, and most people don't have it. But we're going to experience not only 2020 vision, but 2020 viewing. We're actually viewing a process occurring right in front of us. It's amazing. It's a little bit unnerving if you're not conscious. But when you're conscious and you believe that all things ultimately work together for a larger, work in concert for a larger purpose, you're going to be all right. Again, we're not in trouble. We're in transition. Anything can change. Change is situational. Transition, on the other hand, is psychological and somewhat spiritual. It's not those events that change, but rather the inner reorientation of self. A redefinition. We're redefining and refining ourselves, our souls. We are evolving and expanding and lifting up ourselves, and we're becoming more self-actualized. That's to be actually, factually, functionally, and punctionally you. We spend our lives impersonating who we think people want us to be. And in the process, we either lose ourselves or never really connect with ourselves. And we live as imposters. That's changing. There's a clarity, a verity, and a certainty that's coming to the universe, coming through the universe, to, through, and as us. This is not only collective consciousness, this is individual shiftings and changing. We're all in our own private, powerful, and sometimes public way going through this major shift. I think one of the reasons the energy out of Washington has occurred is to somehow start a coming out party for all the haters on the down low. People we didn't know hated us, that sit with us and sometimes worship with us or read the scriptures with us, Bible quoting and Bible toting believers that have this attitude, and I had it for many years myself, of superiority, that we own the country, we have the keys to the kingdom. Many we evangelicals felt we own heaven and hell and Jesus and God, the scriptures and truth, and we're the light of the world. We say it's in God we trust, but it's very often in guns we trust in this country. Over 20 million were bought, I think, the first year of that Obama became president, and 200 million since or more. People are gearing up for warfare. So we have to have in our minds that we are peace-loving, caring people with a voice. Sometimes silence is violence. Sometimes you have to speak out. All lives do matter, but if Black lives don't, then all lives don't or aren't mattering. And so all lives, especially hurting lives, matter. And that's very important for all of us to recognize. So this is an individual, collective, and corporate shift. And you cannot really make the change without that personal transition. A change is just a rearrangement of the furniture. Unless transition happens, the change won't work because it doesn't take, William Bridge said. We have to have an inner, as you've often heard us say, if you don't go in, you go without. What's happening inside you? I've had a lot of time to reflect and to think the 17 years of my journey from traditional evangelical fundamentalist Christianity to what I call Metacostalism. I think Reverend Wanda is one of those too. You come out of this Pentecostal background, and then you expand your consciousness to embrace the larger perspective, and we become radically inclusive, or we believe that everybody is enclosed in the safe space, that everybody deserves to be in the safe space, that no one is left out or left behind or kicked aside. No one is marginalized. No one is demeaned or demined or denied. We reach out to everybody and love them as we love ourselves, as Jesus taught to love your neighbor or nearby as you love yourself. Yes, there's a coroner present investigating. There's some autopsies. Why do certain things die? Not just the disease, but what caused the disease or the dis-ease. I say often that life is a sexually transmitted disease. Or die must live until we die. And then most of us think we get to live again. We get to repeat some things that need to be repeated. We need to rehearse that. Sometimes our past is a rehearsal for our future. We're learning. We don't just go with the flow. We grow with the flow, as Reverend mentioned earlier. And especially when that flow becomes a flood and we feel overwhelmed. When you submit to transition, which is simply moving from one place or state or status or even stagnation to another space, change is a charm, not alarm. It's going back, and going back is not an option or a desire. A lot of people want to go back and hold to things that they held in the past that are detrimental or destructive. I never dreamed I'd see the kind of, I call this a new Pentecost, because actually people are not only speaking different languages. What was powerful about Pentecost is that they understood. I don't need somebody to just tell me they love me. I need somebody to say they feel me. That's compassion, co-passion, pathos. When you're talking to somebody, you're saying, I don't want you to just hear me. I want you to feel me. When you feel my pain, when you feel my path, or walk it with me, or imagine walking with it. Somebody said to me, a white gentleman said to me the other day, Caucasian friend, he said, Bishop, what can I do to help you? I said, well, try to be me for a minute or two. Try to identify with my position and my pain. And his face flushed red, and his eyes welled up with tears. I said, you've imagined being Superman or Spider-Man or Superwoman. You've imagined being, and little black kids for years and years have imagined themselves being white. That cowboy, that person they saw on television. I'm born in the 50s, so I remember those stories. That wasn't something I realized in my own family. It wasn't a matter of wealth with my culture. It was a matter of worth, our personal worth as human beings. We never dreamed of being millionaires. That wasn't something in the 50s that little black children and most people of color or poor thought about. It was a passing fascination, but we did, and my parents made us focus on our worth as human beings being human. That's very powerful. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. Going back is neither an option or a desire for me. And it isn't for a lot of people. We're not just at a tipping point, as I said earlier. We're at a literal turning point, a powerful, prophetic, pivotal, and even critical turning point. There's a curve. Nothing wrong with a curve. But when you're driving something, unless you refuse to turn, you're going to crash. There are lots of curves in the road. I experienced them over my 67 years so many times. The only time I crashed was when I refused to make the turn. And when you're driving an 18-wheeler, it's a lot more difficult to turn than a smaller car. There's no way you can make that turn without crossing over into somebody's lane and making them blow their horn or even cuss, fuss, give you the finger. I've had all of that, but I kept turning. I had to make the turn. And I crossed over in a few other lanes, but I got back in mine once I got around that corner. And every time you turn a corner, it is a law of physics. Anything in motion causes friction. President Truman, I think, has said, if you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen. And when he said that, there was no air conditioning. Kitchens were the hottest room in the house, because that's where the cooking and the fire was. And so we're going through a little bit of a shift. We're not going back this time, though. So don't even expect things to ever get the way they were before the pandemic, whether that's global warming or any other perceived dramatic or traumatic occurrence in recent years. We're all going forward to our next personal and powerful iteration, to something dramatically different and better rather than bitter. You can resent this change if you want to, but if you resist it, you're going to lose. It's difficult sometimes not to resent things we go through. But when you resist it and it's part of your sovereign destiny, you don't win. It's time to basically say, yes, God. Yes to the will, or the word for Greek word for will is thelema, and it means determination or determination. The term, everything has a term. Jesus is quoted in scripture as saying, I'm with you to the end of the age. The King James Version misinterprets that Greek from the Septuagint as being the end of the world. There is no end of the cosmos. There's only end of the aeon or eon, a designated time frame. This is the end of an age. I believe we've come to the end of the age of Pisces, in the age of Aquarius. Water and wind and light and change and shifting and consciousness, awareness. It's powerful. I'm Pisces, so I'm in my sign. I'm into the deep merging depths of the water and space. But there was a fish that the tail tied, pulling against each other. Some interpretations. I think that the water is a man doing something that men don't normally do, which is go to the well in biblical imaginations. It was a female thing to go to the well. The men were out hunting and doing, taking down menacing animals and what have you. But there was always the woman at the well. That is men doing in touch with their feminine selves, pouring water down upon the rest of the water in the earth. Water is a metaphor for spirit, moisture, mist, or mysticism. Everybody lives in the cloud these days. They've already got their phones. Mine has an Apple with a bite out of it. So does my iPad and my laptop here. I like the eye. And it was the female that recognized that knowledge and science would make her more like the gods. Adam was busy obeying his God, but she said, I think I'm more interested in eating from the tree or truth of the science, which knowledge means, of good and evil. There's a science to good and evil. This looks like good and evil combined right now. Some horrible things are happening. This is the best and worst of times. That's what that means. We're going through this major shift, something we've never experienced before in this last century. Last centuries. This transition will happen collectively and corporately as well as individually. And this includes the country. This includes the culture. This includes the character and the consciousness of our nation and of our world. This is a powerful, as well as our personal walk and work in the earth. So I'm reflecting on all that and what it means. We're all willingly, if not all eagerly, some people are willing, they're just not eager to move forward. They are literally resenting it, but they have the wisdom not to resist it. I will not resist the shifts that occur in my life. Shift happens. I've been trying to get my shift together since I turned 50. I'm helping you get your shift together. That's why we're here every week. That's what Reverend Temple is thinking. That's what the whole Unity Voices are thinking. That's what the whole staff. We're here to help you get your shift together so that you can move on into the shiftings. At least it's holy shift, S-H-I-F-T. It's sacred shift. It's powerful shift, and it's wonderfully manifesting through and as. I call this two mornings. One is spelled M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, which usually is a reference to death or the corona. And then there's M-O-R-N-I-G, which represents birth, new ideas, new promise, new future, new curiosity, new adventurism. That's what's happening. Both of the mornings have their place, and we should engage in both of them appropriately. Don't go into grief, because then you get into a blame and pointing the finger. There's a period of mourning for deaths. Generally, deaths are a lot smoother. It's a natural death. People just die. They just go to sleep. They just stop breathing. Birthing, however, I was in the birthing suite for both of my children, is loud, noisy, primordial fluids. Sometimes it even seems violent. There's screams, there's pain, there's pushing, there's activity. It was a very you could feel the energy of passings or divine passages. When my son and daughter came into this world, something left this world. A different part of my character emerged. A different part of my wife's or their mother's character emerged. And a new character came into my sphere, my children. My son just celebrated his 26th birthday. We celebrated it with him. My daughter will be 23 in this coming October. She was actually born on my dad's 70th birthday. All these transitions involve some aspects of death. There's always a mourning. It's okay to mourn. But don't forget the other morning, awaken. Don't get in the doldrums of defeat and fear in the pandemic or the pandemonium that is out there. So there's a powerful evolution, revolution, and revelation occurring in the earth today. And you're part of all. You embrace the light that you are. You're in transition. That could be marital. That could be relationship. That could be jobs. That could be changing your dietary habits. I actually had a couple of stents placed in my arteries. I did not know that my arteries were blocked. I eat a fairly decent, but I wasn't as concerned about it and focused on it, because where there's tension, there's attention and then intention. The tension made me pay attention. And then Michael Beckwith told me about this process in Los Angeles, and I flew out there and had it done where I had the arteries dilated. I went through this anti-aging process there, which he has been doing for years. He made me aware of it. So I went out and spent 2.5 weeks, and I got into the plant-based diet. Now, don't get me wrong. I love a good neck bone. I mean, when that neck bone spirit hits me, I want to run and find one. But I'm disciplining myself, because it's not just hand sanitizer, masks, and toilet paper. It's a change of your diet to build your immune system and strengthen it. More water, reverse osmosis, making sure that the lymph areas, your lymph nodes are your military force in your body. All of us have cancer in our body at any given time. Everybody does, adults usually. But you're surviving it constantly because your antibodies in there. The lymph nodes are your military system. They're attacking those cells. So when we eat too much genetically modified foods, too much fatty acids, animal fat, radicals, we gotta make a big change. And I'm making that change. Even at 67 years old, I'm managing that change, and I would ultimately master it. I'm doing better with my neck bone attacks. And you not meet a preacher who doesn't like a good chicken wing from time to time. Hey, glory. And I'm a cook. I cook in my house. I'm sitting in my breakfast nook. I've been doing all my sermons from here since this pandemic. And I'm comfortable with the shift. I'm shifting in my habits, my hobbies, my hungers. I'm evolving because I'm doing it in consciousness. I realize and accept the fact that I am going through transition. I'm going through, as it were, the change. You going through the change? The whole country, the whole culture, the whole character, the whole consciousness is going through the change. We're making a powerful shift into a new reality that we are creating and co-creating and recreating. So there's something recreational about it. So learn how to have fun through the shift, and learn how to be joyful. Somebody asked me the other day, actually it was a few months ago, I was in the Far East in Thailand or Singapore, and some of us were sitting around the table, and they said, "Bishop, are you happy?" I paused to think about it a minute, and I really couldn't answer that. I did say this, and I would say the same thing now. I'm not sure even what happiness is, but I know I'm happening. I'm happening. I'm functioning. I'm current. I'm in the current, in the flow. I'm currency. I'm alive. I am. That may be as close to happiness as I ever get in the typical definition. I feel good about being. I feel good about existence. I feel good about the varying transitions that we go through in life. When I say life is a sexually transmitted disease, I'm saying also it's an incurable disease. And it's a terminal disease because it all ultimately ends in the transition that many people call death. But it's not untreatable. We're going from glory to glory, certainty to certainty, verity to verity. We are all being treated. That's why we have a service every Sunday for you who love to either come to Unity or watch us online through the internet. This is treatment for your soul. It's deep tissue therapy. You have some of the greatest teachers on the planet. Your pastor is a brilliant mind, a brilliant energy, a brilliant spirit. And she doesn't just use her own thinking, but the collective thinking of the house, of all the people there, the brilliant laity and lay leaders. All of us are presenting to you therapy for your soul. The most prominent usage of the word healing in the Greek New Testament is not iomai, which means to cure. It is the word therapeuo, where we get the word therapy, which means to treat or attend to. We're basically spiritual custodians. We're spiritual janitors. We do a lot of cleaning up. And that's fine. We're very happy with it. We love it because we love you. You're on your way to a wealthy consciousness, a much better awareness of who you are. We're at this Ascension passage right now. We're recovering our unredacted, our unedited, our more refined self, our more refined soul expressions and experiences. We're reconnecting with something very powerful. I've never felt more interested. Old karma has run its course and cause and will be replaced with new karma, with new courses, with new causes, with fresh karma, fresh cause, fresh course. Don't mourn the past too long. This is a good moment. We are experiencing this brand new illumination. The universe is showing itself, unveiling itself to us. The secrets and the sacreds that we've not yet met are being unveiled. It's one thing to discover, another thing to uncover. Discovery sometimes is accidental. It appears to be at least, or at least incidental. But when you actually unveil or uncover something in yourself, in your soul, that happens, the light comes everywhere. It's a very powerful time of not only discovery and uncovering, but recovering lost essentials, lost parts of your soul, lost parts that you lost in a conversation, parts of your soul that you lost, your fractured soul that you lost in something somebody said when you were in the second grade, some experience you had when you were 12, something that you was robbed of reading a text or making a text, an email, you felt the fracturing, and now you're pulling your soul back together in this brand new morning. This brand new morning, this branch of your collective ever, this essence. This is a reference to your permanent rather than your accidental self. Your essence is your permanent rather than your accidental self. It's your immutable, immeasurable, immediate self, the part of you that has always been and will always be. You're dynamic. You're powerful. You're undefeatable. I want to remind you of something you already know, and you already know that. You're good, you're God and goddesses. I love you. I believe in you. I don't know how long I've been talking, but I'm going to stop. I've said enough to have you keep thinking. This is say to yourself as you put your arms around yourself, I am in transition. I am able to transit, to transform, to transition, to even transfigure. I'm evolving. I'm becoming. I'm expanding. I am rich. I'm powerful. I'm amazing. I'm magnificent. I am. Amen. Om. Ashe. Namaste. Peace and blessing. Love you all. Bye now.
Well, like I said before we started, raw truth transforms. I don't know about you, I could feel the vibration in my body changing. I could feel the energy coming and the essence, and I was just basking in it. Wow, the kind of teaching we need all the time. brave warriors of truth. Thank you so much, beloved Bishop Carlton Pearson. Hey, and we want you anytime. And here, we're not into time, we're into truth. We don't guide our programs by time. We guide them by experience. So we love you, we appreciate you, and we behold that great Christ nature in you.